and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 455, Bad Takes. For those who might not have ever seen my show before, this is it. That's why I only have, for the most part, I just sit here in my basement and chit-chat for about an hour and a half to almost 2 hours about the news of the week, stuff that I find interesting, pop culture, reviews. I have something to say, particularly this episode called Bad Takes. I got a bunch of things that I saw this week, bad takes from other people online that I want to respond to. There's some talk about death, anniversaries of stuff that came out around this time, animals, new stuff out in the world, and just kind of general stuff that you might have missed in your comings and goings on the internet. I don't do live chat because I've tried that before and it went off the rails very quickly. So, because I have no moderators and I just, people spam in the chat and it was just going to be embarrassing. So I shut off the chat. So don't blame me, blame those idiots who spam the chat and who come on and say, oh, I'm going to spam the chat. And then when they realize they can't, they leave. So they can just F right off. I don't hold back. I curse. I lose my cool sometimes. There's a whole episode I released a couple weeks ago where I totally lost my cool. But we're not going to talk about that anymore. Instead, we're going to talk about, we got the Emmys and we got some new trailers. We've got some baseball news. We've got some casting news. We've got some animal news. We have frogs having sex. Wait, what? Frogs having sex. Yep. Transformers. Parking garages. Doritos. Sex education. Halloween. Jeff Goldblum. Finn Wolfhard. All kinds of fun stuff. So interesting things. So before we get to my bad takes, let's just run through some stuff right now. The first thing I want to do real quick is I will do the Miss Marvel review because the final episode of Miss Marvel came out this week and there are spoilers ahead. So if you have not seen it yet, you might just want to fast forward. I'll probably only talk for maybe about 5 minutes. So fast forward to about 7 minute mark, or if you're live, you can mute me for now. And then I'll sort of like do a, when I'm done. All right. So Miss Marvel number 6, episode 6, I should say, begins with Kamala and Bruno on the run after Bruno's place of business and his home blew up when Cameron lost control of his powers, trying to stop Damage Control from finding him. Now, the one thing real quick before I go on, I have an issue with the way Damage Control is portrayed in Miss Marvel. As far as I know, I don't think in the comics Damage Control is a super human police force. They don't hunt down new superhumans like that. Damage Control to me was always the type of people who, after a superhero battle between supervillains, and they go through the city and they wreck the city and buildings are destroyed and cars are destroyed, the roads destroyed, stuff like that. The infrastructure is wrecked. They come out and they fix everything. They work on insurance claims and they get the road back to normal so you can drive on it again. They replant trees, stuff like that, just to get things back to normal. That's how I always thought Damage Control was, unless I'm missing something in the comics. I don't ever remember them hunting down superheroes, particularly young ones, to control them. But you need a bad guy, and the Clandestine weren't that big of a bad guy, big of a threat, and their story sort of ended with a poof, really, in the last episode. But this one really is an excellent episode. So they're on the run right now. And then Kamala is trying to tell her family that she's the new superhero they've seen, but they already know because the mother told them already because she knew. So they're back in the USA. And then she goes out and her mother hands her the costume that we all know and love that she made, and she goes out to try to save the day. And so she finds out about Cameron and Bruno and tries to help them, and she meets up with her other friend, I can't remember that, and the vacuous blonde from the first episode, and they all sort of come to work together to stop Damage Control. they decide they hid Bruno and Cameron in the mosque, but then they escaped out and went to school because it's a Saturday, so school is not open. So they go in there, and Damage Control follows them, and they hatch a plan to stop them so they won't get Cameron, or so they can escape. Kamala calls her friends in the Red Daggers to if she can send Cameron to them so he can get trained up on these powers like they trained her up on her powers. Even though they're enemies, they say yes, and so they're going to set up a thing for him to get on a boat and head out back to Pakistan to be trained up on stuff. But of course, they have to survive Damage Control, and they do it in a very almost Home Alone-esque sort of way, but really quite clever. And before you know it, it draws a crowd of people from the neighborhood, including Kamala's parents and the people from the mosque. And eventually the fight goes out into the street, where Kamran starts losing control after he finds out that his mother's actually dead, and starts just destroying stuff with the powers, hurting people like that. And Kamala's got to stop him. And so they fight for a little bit, and she calms him down a little bit, but then Damage Control sends this like sonic weapon thing, whatever. And then eventually they're able to stop Damage Control. And then the head of Damage Control does not like the stuff that the leader did, or the person who's in charge of this retrieval, and because it's caused too much commotion and brought bad attention to them, that she's been relinquished. So they escape and are able to get out. Cameron goes over to the Red Daggers, and life returns to normal. And Bruno is going to Caltech to do his thing. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, so he's going to be leaving them behind and doing his Caltech stuff. Cameron has left his car, so they have a car now they can drive around in. Her dad gives her the name Miss Marvel because Kamala's name, it's not Hindi, but one of the languages, either Hindi or Pakistani or whatever, means Marvel. So my little Miss Marvel. So she calls herself Miss Marvel. So her dad helps give her name. And then the episode ends with them saying goodbye to Bruno, and Bruno pulls Kamala aside and said he was doing some research on her powers and tested her brother to see if it was a genetic thing and not just from the bauble. The bauble is a part of it, but not all of it. Apparently, Kamala's always had the power inside of her, like some kind of mutation. So it's official, and this is what if you've looked at all the spoilers afterwards, stuff like that. Kamala is officially the first mutant in the MCU, and it's announced in the final scene of the episode that she is indeed a mutant. And so she is the stepping stone for mutants to start making their way into the MCU now, but she's the first one that we know of right now. And that's where the episode ends. Then we have a mid-credit sequence where Kamala is, collapses on her bed after, being tired and needs some sleep. And her mom's like, you need to study. And she's getting ready to study. All of a sudden, some weird distortion thing happens, and she gets sucked out. And Brie Larson's Captain Marvel pops in a new outfit with a new hairstyle, looks around, goes, oh, no, 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 and ends out there. So that's going to lead into the Marvels, which is coming out next year, because that's Captain Marvel 2. Kamala is in the Marvels, as is Monica Rambeau's character as well. So we get to see a Brie Larson cameo, and we find out that Kamala is the first mutant in the MCU. So there we go. That is it. Whatever the thing was. No more spoilers. So I really enjoyed the episode. And if you have not watched Miss Marvel, I highly recommend, now that all 6 episodes are out, you just binge all 6 of them. As I said, it's might be a little slow, but for a origin story with a little bit of history and different culture and some really cool music and neat set designs and effects and stuff like that. And as I said, the twists that happen at the end, it's well worth it to check it out. So definitely. Plus, you're going to probably need to find out more about her if you're going to go see Captain Marvel 2 next year, which I think is coming out in July. I think about a year from now, Captain Marvel 2 is coming out, because Ant-Man's going to come out first at the beginning of the year. Then Guardians is coming out in the May 5th slot, or the first weekend in May slot, and then the Marvels coming out sometime in July, I believe. So that's where we are with that. So there was that. So before I get to my bad takes, that'll probably be at the bottom of the hour here. Top Gun Maverick becomes Paramount's biggest movie of all time. It has made $600 million domestically, and just as much, I think, overseas. It is past the $1 billion mark. It's entering the top 10 top movies of all time. And Maverick is still pretty much going strong in movie theaters, so good for them. Oni Press, which is a comic company that does mostly independent stuff, has a lot of really, independent, outside the norm comic book stuff that are really, really good. Had to release a number of freelancers and people from their jobs, creators, stuff like that. They have to cut corners and stuff like that. I don't know the whole business behind it, but a lot of the talent that's creating these important comic books that are proving that comic books are more than just superheroes and TNA are being released and are looking for work. And I highly recommend, if you want some interesting, unique voices, I would recommend that you pick any of these people up who are looking for a job. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who I despise with every fiber of my being, but that's more of a rivalry sort of thing. The Ravens-Steelers football rivalry is one of the best in the NFL, and you cannot prove otherwise that it isn't, because of just the sheer the games that they played, the hatred they had for each other, the playoffs where they actually played each other multiple times in the playoffs over the years, and a win-loss thing that is more skewed towards the Steelers now recently. But it's still close enough that the Ravens are not like being wiped out. So it's still one of the best rivals in baseball, or football rather. And, Pittsburgh, when the Colts left Baltimore, a lot of people went to Pittsburgh, became Pittsburgh fans because they were hot at the time with Terry Bradshaw and all that. And Baltimore has, or rather not Baltimore, but Maryland has the second biggest Pittsburgh Steelers fan base in the country. Number one, obviously, being in Pittsburgh, but Baltimore is close second because Baltimore and Pittsburgh are very similar cities. They're smaller cities. They're blue collar. They're on water, stuff like that. So they're very similar. So that's why that rivalry is sort of, big as well. And but I feel bad for them. This is a business decision. Heinz Field was always a great name for a stadium. It's been Heinz Field forever. It used to be Three River Stadium, I think, but it's Heinz Field, which has been, as I said, for the longest time. Well, apparently Heinz has given up the naming rights, so the Steelers wanted to get more money put into their coffers, so they sold the name, or Heinz left and they need to refill it. I don't know. So they have a new stadium name, and it is Acrisure Stadium. Acrisure Stadium. It just rolls off the tongue now, doesn't it? Now, this isn't really schadenfreude because a number of the Pittsburgh fan base absolutely despise the name of the stadium now. They don't like Acrisure Stadium. They think it's a cash grab. And there's a petition out by Pittsburgh Steelers fans that says you need to remove that name from the stadium. Ain't going to happen, sunshine. Sorry. It's just the way it is. Hell, the Ravens were PSI Net Stadium for the longest time till M&T bought it, and M&T is actually still the name on it, so whatever. But, yep. Oof. 3D print your face onto an action figure with the new Hasbro Selfie series. It's a brand new action figure set where you can absolutely 3D print your face onto a action figure. The only one I think they had, the only one that was in the article I read, was one of the Power Rangers, so you can put yourself as a Power Ranger. So I don't know how that works. I'm not very technically inclined, So I really don't know how 3D printers work. I mean, I hear all kinds of stories that people can build houses with 3D printing, and it's like, how do you get the materials? How do you make sure that the materials are strong enough? If you're building a house, is it plastic that you're printing it on, or is there able to get steel? I don't know. They say they can build. They say they can do all kinds of stuff with 3D printing, including making valve replacements for hearts and stuff like that. I honestly I don't see how it happen. How can be, but here we are. So you can now 3D print your face onto an action figure thanks to Hasbro, which is a action figure company. So they know what they're doing. So they know what's going on with that. So interesting about that. Adam Scott and Mike Epps have joined the cast. They're the males of the cast. Has joined the cast of the truly sexy. I'm not being outrageous. Madam Web movie. You've got Dakota Johnson, you've got Sylvia Sidney, and I think there's one other hottie that's in there. I can't think of her name right now. And now you got Adam Scott and Mike Epps. I like Mike Epps. He's been a good, steady actor, and Adam Scott is definitely interesting. But they have joined the Madam Web movie, which has started filming this week. So good on that, and we'll see how that one. That one looks like it's going to have a better pedigree maybe than the It's Morbin Time Morbius movie. Sticking with casting, Kaylee Kuko, Connie Nielsen, David Oyewo, and Bill Nighy have been cast in a high-concept film called Role Play. Not a lot is being revealed about it, but it's there, and they are the cast. Also, Kit Harington, Clara Rugard, Ferder Walsh Pesto, Sebastian D'Souza have all been cast in Mary's Monster, a film about Mary Shelley's writing of Frankenstein. So that's interesting to see. I didn't know they were making a movie about that. Sohaila Yakub joins the Dune 2 cast. Dune 2 is presently filming right now. So that's a new cast member that they have just signed on to. Sailing, a new musical from the Rock of Ages creators, is circling Woody Harrelson as the lead for their movie version of the play. I don't think it's an actual play just yet, but maybe they're making a movie musical first, and then they'll put it to Broadway. Maybe they're going to take the reverse course. But the Rock of Ages creators are doing the Sailing one, and they circled Woody Harrelson. So he's in talks right now, but he's not been officially cast in that role yet. Yu Yu Hakusho will be a live-action show on Netflix. They're just doing all kinds of live-action shows of the manga. And the first casting has been announced. Actor Takumi Kitamura will be playing the lead actor in Yu Yu Hakusho. I don't know much about Yu Yu Hakusho, but it's coming soon, obviously, since they've cast that. Rafael Casal has been cast in unspecified role right now in Loki season 2, which is also presently filming at this moment too. So I think that's all the casting on this page. I got a couple more on some of these other pages, but here's another one. Alden Ehrenreich, who was young Han Solo in the Solo movie, has joined the Ironheart cast, the Disney Plus show, in an unspecified role. Jeff Goldblum is replacing Hugh Grant as Zeus in the Netflix series Chaos. So it'll be interesting to see Jeff Goldblum as Zeus, to see how he plays that. John Hamm apparently has already made a reboot kind of the Fletch series with a new Fletch movie based on one of Gregory McDonald's books about Fletch. I think it's called Fletch Now or something like that. It has been acquired by Showtime Streaming and will show up on there. I guess first will not be in theaters, but apparently it's done. So, or it's almost done for that matter. I don't know. Adam Sandler and Idina Menzel will co-star in the Netflix film You Are So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah. That's a mouthful. But that should be interesting to see those two play off each other. Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. This isn't really casting, but Finn Wolfhard is going to be co-directing a horror comedy called Hell of the Summer. So that's what he's doing this summer. So he's co-directing a movie. I guess he's also going to star in it as well. And then I'll hit the others later. And then finally, Daniel Kaluuya, who is in the new movie Nope, coming up next week, the 22nd, which actually looks intriguing. He will not be appearing in Black Panther 2. That was announced earlier this week. But the other big news is that he is making a movie that's going to be darker than we're expecting, of Barney the Dinosaur. So that should be an interesting movie to see how they're going to do a dark take on Barney. But Daniel Kaluuya, will be, I think he's cast in it, may be directing it. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what he'll be doing. What's next here? There was another Netflix film. Or was it Prime? Was it Prime or Netflix? They showed a trailer that came out this week called Purple Heart. It looks like a typical sort of romantic comedy sort of thing that's going to have a little edge of drama to it. It's about a woman who is a musician who has a medical condition and doesn't have very good health insurance, and she meets a Marine who is getting close to being sent out overseas to fight in a war. So they work out a deal where they will pretend to get married right before he ships out. That way she will be under his health insurance while he's overseas fighting to protect us, so that she will get the care she needs at a much lower price than she's used to. Sorry, they don't really show how they get to know each other. It's just a basic premise, just the setup for the movie. But that's basically what happens. So they get married. They pretend that they're married. He gets shipped out, and she gets to get her care from the health care that he gets for being a soldier. But of course, yes, I'm that guy. I just had to bite my nails here. But of course, he gets injured overseas and has to come back. And so they inform his wife that, she's going to have to start taking care of him while he's recovering. And that's not what she signed up for, blah, blah, blah. But she feels obligated to do it. So they spend time trying to help each other. And obviously they fall in love, blah, blah, blah. And that's what's going to happen with that. So it looks an interesting take on I'm always a sucker for romantic comedy type stuff. That's not really, it doesn't look like romantic comedy, more like a romantic drama, but it still is a typical sort of setup that we've seen before. And you pretty much know what you're going to expect on this one, of course. Maybe they can surprise us, but I don't think so. Sorry. Animals. The National Zoo, not the National Zoo, the Nashville Zoo celebrates the birth of a rare spotted fauna loca, which is the first ever born in the United States. I don't really know what a fauna loca looks like, but or what it is, but it looks sort of like a deer sort of thing. A white lioness has given birth to 3 white cubs, which is not that unusual, but the fact now is that there are now 3 more white lions in the world. At Long Park, I'm not exactly sure that that's overseas somewhere. Snow leopard was born at the Brookbird Zoo, again, probably overseas somewhere. And a crab with human teeth has been discovered under the sea. And it's a very bizarre looking creature. Science. The James Webb Space Telescope has sent back a bunch of pictures that they took this week. They are much clearer than the ones that Hubble have done before. You get more scope, able to see more things. There's one that is centered on the star right in the middle. And then off to the side, you see a galaxy on its side, which is the wildest thing I've ever seen before. But then they decide, we'll take some pictures of, stars like this. I think they're going to be focusing on a planet in one of the outside universes that has been discovered but hasn't really been photographed yet. So they're going to try to line up that shot and get the first picture of a extra or exoplanet that isn't part of our solar system, which could be really interesting to see if that actually turns out. But they did turn the James Webb Telescope onto one of our own planets, obviously the biggest one in our solar system in Jupiter. And the pictures they sent back are the clearest images of Jupiter ever taken, and they look absolutely nothing like the ones that we've gotten from the Voyagers, from Galileo and stuff like that. This looks like something completely surreal and unusual, but it's what it is. So, huzzah, I guess. I don't know, but a really interesting look at that. Food. Old Bay seasoned clam chowder from Campbell's is a thing now. I might have to pick that up because I love clam chowder. And with a Old Bay spice on it, that could be really, really good. Mountain Dew whoopie pies. I don't know what whoopie pies are, but they are now in Mountain Dew flavor. Yuck. There's a new Dungeons and Dragons themed brewery that opened in Spokane, Washington. So that's proof that D&D is all over the place. So there's that. Some death. Bobby East, a NASCAR star, was murdered at a gas station this week, and his killer has been spotted and was shot to death by trying to escape. But Bobby East is still dead. Rest in peace. What other deaths do we have this week? Ivana Trump, the first wife of that fucking guy who gave birth to the three Hellspawn. Ivana herself had her own issues. She accused that fucking guy of raping her. They were married and she won that. And then when they got divorced, she won quite a good settlement. So she's living her best high life and still, unfortunately, trying to be a mother to these hellions who are doing everything in their power to try to be in daddy's favor and ignoring their mom on the side so they can rot in hell. But Ivana, you did what you had to do at the time. You came to your senses and you understood what's going on, and you said, "Nope, I'm done." And good on you for that. But now you're free, and hopefully you're in a good place where he will never be able to find you. Former Michigan football coach, college football coach, Greg Moeller died this week as well. I don't know much about him, but he did. The oldest living baseball player, 100-year-old George Elder, passed away this week at 101 years old. That's an old, long time. And Jimmy Wilson, a former cornerback for the San Francisco 49ers, passed away at the age of 43 this week. So that's your death for this week. I'm not making light of it for those who've never seen this before. I'm just giving you information that you might not know, that some of these people have passed away. In some cases, when it's someone a little bit more famous, I go on to a little spiel about them. But, death is never a good thing. So, but it's an inevitable thing, unfortunately. Anniversaries for this week before we get into the meat of this episode. Anniversaries this week, we have Hocus Pocus, came out July 16th, 1993, which makes it its 29th anniversary. Next year will be its 30th anniversary. The sequel to Hocus Pocus will be out on Disney Plus September 30th, just in time for Halloween, which is coming up quickly. And Hocus Pocus has become like the Halloween movie. Like how Christmas Story has become the Christmas movie, Hocus Pocus has become the Halloween movie. Even more so than Halloween, which is a shame. Inception, Chris Nolan's Inception movie, came out 12 years ago in 2010. Just showed my daughter and wife Interstellar, which is still one of my favorite Chris Nolan movies. And the score alone is worth it. But Inception is definitely an interesting film. And definitely is along the lines of what Chris Nolan does. That Interstellar and Tenet all sort of have sort of that kind of bizarre sort of weird thing happening to it, and we're not quite sure what it is. Lake Placid came out in 1999, 23 years ago. What's interesting about Lake Placid was the first one was released in movie theaters and generally did pretty good. David E. Kelley, I believe, was the director of it, and he's a guy that created many TV shows, including the Ally McBeals and The Practice and stuff like that. But he directed this, and Betty White made an appearance as a woman who lives on the lake who actually takes care of the giant crocodile, and she curses like a storm, like a sailor. But that's basically what it is. It's Jaws, but with an alligator, giant crocodile in a lake, and it's just about a giant crocodile killing people and animals and stuff like that, except for Betty White, who feeds him and takes care of him and loves him. No, that's just what it is. It's a summer film, nothing exciting about it. Fun. I think it did okay, and it did okay. So Sci-Fi commissioned a number of direct-to-sci-fi sequels, which were added to the B-movie sequels, the B-movies that came out through Sci-Fi back in the mid-2010s, which created the Snark Out group where we were watching them and making fun of them. So there have been multiple Lake Placids we've seen. I think there's been 3 more since then, but the original is still the original, still considered to be the best one. Fish Called Wanda came out in 1988, 34 years ago. Great film with Michael Palin, I believe, won the Oscar for Best Support. No, he didn't win the Oscar. Kevin Kline won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. In that movie, he plays a wonderfully awful role, and Jamie Lee Curtis is sexy in it. And it also has John Cleese and Michael Palin of Monty Python fame as well, filling out the cast as well. Got a lot of anniversaries, because that's the one thing that's been happening lately is all these anniversaries. So here's a whole list of them right now. This is not a movie-related thing, but it's still something interesting that happened this week back in 1994, which was a good year, by the way, but that's besides the point. Shoemaker-Levy comet. I don't know if you remember the Shoemaker-Levy comet. It was a comet that was 28 years ago that crashed into Jupiter, and we knew it was coming. We had plenty of warning that it was heading straight for Jupiter, and so all the satellites and all the telescope, Hubble was involved with that. I think there was like Galileo or some other probe. I don't think it was Galileo, but there was some other probe that was out there as well. They all focused their cameras on Jupiter around the time when the comet hit. And I will never forget the pictures that were being sent back from the telescopes and the probes and stuff like that, which showed the bruising on the surface. Well, there's no surface, but the bruising in the atmosphere of Jupiter. Basically, just giant holes of black just appeared like bruises on the planet where the comet hit and I guess exploded, and it causes some sort of weird interaction. I'm not exactly sure how on a planet that doesn't have a surface could have such markings on its surface, or their atmosphere, stress, or whatever you want to call it. But it was still an intriguing, definitely interesting look at it, and to see it has Jupiter rotating, and you see it, and then you see the comets coming for it, and then you see the explosions on it, and then when it rolls around again, that's when you see the bruising on it. So it was really, really very well done, very well documented. You can probably find those pictures anywhere on the internet right now. Shoemaker-Levy comet impact on Jupiter was this week, 28 years ago. 28 years ago, also on the same day, 1994, or same week, I should say, 1994, James Cameron released his last, I won't say interesting, but I mean, one of his last action-packed films, True Lies, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and again, Jamie Lee Curtis again, and a young Faith, the actress who played Faith in Buffy. She was in it as well. And Tom Arnold in his one really good role, where he was actually a very good, had a good role in the film and did a good job of it. And Charlton Heston had a cameo in it, and Bill Paxton was in it. So it was a good, fun movie. Showed that to my daughter about a month or so ago. She enjoyed it a lot. But meaning that after True Lies, the next movie that Cameron made was Titanic. And the next movie he made after that was Avatar. And the next movie he made after that was Avatar 2. So that's where he's gone. But True Lies has been like the last, I guess, sort of fun sort of movie that he made. well. Everybody's talking about Stranger Things. It is a huge hit now. The season 4 has just broken all kinds of records. Did you recall where you were 6 years ago when Stranger Things debuted for the first time on Netflix 6 years ago? And I remember not knowing much about it. We had just gotten Netflix, so we really hadn't been watching it that much because we got it mostly for the Daredevil and stuff like that shows, but we weren't really paying much attention to it. And I've been hearing all these good things about Stranger Things when it first came out. All the critics loved it, and fans of the show were becoming. And then I decided, it was an '80s nostalgia trip sort of thing. So my wife and I decided we were going to watch it. So we didn't binge it like everybody else did. Watch every episode in one day. We spread it out. We did maybe 2 episodes a day for about a week, and it took us about a week to finish it all. But we did enjoy it. And then the second season came out. I watched the first episode, and then I don't know. I just didn't watch anymore. My daughter and wife watched about midway through the second season, and they stopped as well. And we haven't watched since. But my daughter wants to get back into it, and I do too. Kind of want to get back into it. So we're probably going to start over with season 2, episode 1, and just go from there and get caught up on that sooner than later. But yeah, 6 years ago, Stranger Things debuted. There's Something About Mary. Debuted 24 years ago. I'm not the biggest fan of that movie. Everybody seemed to love it, but it was just another kind of gross out sort of comedy that was okay, but just I didn't like it a lot. It's just me. Saw it in movie theaters, but it was not one of my favorites. 1984, The Last Starfighter debuted. That was one of those films that was constant on cable in the early parts of cable. I watched it a million times, and hasn't aged well. Basically, the premise is a kid in a small town, middle of nowhere, really. His own, his one gateway is he's really good at a video game that just popped up outside a convenience store. And 1984 was when arcades were huge, and this small town didn't really have an arcade, just had this one game, and he was really the only one interested in the video game at that time. And he got a really good score, and so we eventually found out that it was actually a recruiting tool by aliens who are trying to find a good pilot. And alien comes to visit him, and played by the Music Man himself. I forget the actor's name, Robert Preston, I think. And he picked him up and told him that, you've been drafted into our war because you were so good with the video game. And the reason why he was, drafted into it is because the handles of the spacecrafts they built were exactly like the handles of the arcade game. So he knew his way around that. So he became a brilliant pilot, but he also had to not tell anybody that he was doing this. They put this doppelganger of him, like a clone of him, on the planet. He just ends up ruining his life on Earth. So it's kind of funny with that. X-Men, which ushered in, you could say Blade in 1998 was the first real kind of big hit for bringing comic book movies back, but it took 2 full years before the X-Men came out. But because of Blade, and it did really well, they figured X-Men would be a good time for X-Men to show up. So 2000 X-Men was released and did very well. It's an entertaining movie. Probably not the best one. X-Men 2 is still the best one, I believe. But it was still, for a comic book movie that, we haven't had a real good comic book movie at that time, except for maybe Blade in a really long time, that it was good to see. And it was X-Men, so everybody loves X-Men. So that was this week, 22 years ago. Ghost. Patrick Swayze is a lovely human being, and Demi Moore was, as always, sexy. This came out July 13th, 1990, so we have the anniversary. That makes it 32 years old. Whew, that's old. What else do we have anniversary here? Point Break, another Patrick Swayze movie with Keanu Reeves, came out 31 years ago this week. This isn't a movie thing, but the anniversary of Aaron Burr killing Alexander Hamilton in The Duel happened this week. So if you're watching Hamilton, the musical now, the duel at the end takes place during this week. Hellboy 2 came out in 2008. Hellboy is an interesting thing. I like Ron Perlman, but I did not like a lot about his version of Hellboy. There was a lot of stuff I liked about it, but there's a lot of stuff I didn't like about it. This one was more along the lines of what I was expecting from a Hellboy movie, but they still shoehorned a romantic bit in there, which really didn't need to be done. If you would have just ignored the romantic aspect of it, this might have been a very entertaining movie, but it's also one I've only seen a couple times. I've never felt the urge to go back and watch it multiple times. I've made my cases for Hellboy itself was an okay film, except for the introduction of a character that's not in the comics, but you need a someone who's never been in there before to come in and get an idea of what's going on. And then the whole love story thing was just a little bit out there, but there were some moments of it that were good. And then the second one was, as I said, a little bit closer to what I was expecting, but they still shoehorned this romance into it, and it ended on a kind of a cliffhangery note, but we never really got response to that. And then we got David Harbour's Hellboy, which I haven't seen, but I've heard is awful. So I don't know, whatever. Die Hard, the original one, is not a Christmas movie because it came out July 12th, 1988. So there's proof right there that it is not a Christmas movie, even though it takes place at Christmas. But yada, yada, we talked about that before already. Universal Soldier, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren in a sci-fi movie, which actually was pretty good. Came out 30 years ago. Kurt Russell and John Carpenter's Escape from New York came out 41 years ago this week, which is an outstanding film, by the way. Small Soldiers, Joe Dante's film with Kirsten Dunst and Phil Hartman, and the voice of Sarah Michelle Gellar and Frank Langella. It's a pretty interesting thing about toys that come to life. Jay Moore's in it also. It's about toys that have a microchip that turns them into soldiers, and also gives them like AI capabilities. So it's an entertaining, fun film. I saw that in the movie theaters as well. That came out 24 years ago this week. And finally, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome came out 37 years ago this week. Oh, DoorDash, that's what that is. Give me a second. I got to fix my own writing here. All right, so we've killed enough time. 42 minutes in. I think it's time to get into the meat of this episode. Bad takes. This week was a week of bad takes. So some of the stuff is bad takes that I've heard from people online. Others are things I've just been wanting to get off my chest before. I've had these moments before. I did an episode a while back called Man Yells at Clouds, where I was raging against other stuff. I'm going to add one more here because I was just thinking about this week. So the main thing that drew my attention this week was last week, Thor Love and Thunder came out. I absolutely loved the movie. It has a very mixed reaction to it. And the first thing that got me was one of the people who I'm friends with on Facebook and was a fellow comic book guy said that he did not like it because Thor was acting uncharacteristic. And I was like, you must have missed Ragnarok because he was acting basically how he did in Ragnarok. It's who he is now. He's not like the comic book version. I did not think of anything uncharacteristic he did. He's always been a little hot-headed. He's had a lot of bad stuff happen to him recently. So he's sort of, not in a good space right now. But everything he did, it made absolutely sense to his character, and I don't understand where this uncharacteristic stuff came from. Maybe I should have responded, what part did you find uncharacteristic? And I could have pointed out, well, no, that. So anything about that, but I'm trying to get more people to see it because it's actually a really fun movie. And Marvel mandated it be under 2 hours, which is fine. It moves along fine, but it could have used for a little bit of more breathing room. In my opinion, I think that might be the only issue I might have with it. If it was like a 2:15, like maybe the length of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, maybe it could breathe a little bit more. A lot of people, I think, were turned off by the high comedy in it. There's not a lot of comedy in it. It's just your typical comedy. It's got comedy in it. That's the way Marvel is. But it's also got a lot of dramatic, heavy moments as well. So I don't quite understand where all that's coming from. But then it got even worse because people started breaking down phase 4 of the MCU. Now, they've divided into phases. Phase 1 was the first set that set up, was Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, and it culminated in the Avengers. Phase 2, I'm not sure exactly where it ends, but it brought sequels. It brought more characters into, I think it ended after Age of Ultron, I think. It brought more characters into the fold, created some things, started taking us down the road to the Infinity Gauntlet, made a game changer in the Winter Soldier, with S.H.I.E.L.D. being outed as a Hydra thing, and then Tony building a robot that tried to take over the world, and it took a synthoid named Vision to stop him. So I can understand some of that stuff. And then the third phase was the Infinity stuff, which led, it just really took off from that point. The Infinity Gauntlets, the Infinity Stones, all the stuff connected to that. Thanos showing up, the Infinity War, Endgame, blah, 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 and all that. And then it ended with the epilogue for Spider-Man No Way Home. And then COVID kind of put a damper on the beginning of Phase 4, because Black Widow was supposed to come out almost immediately after, like the next year after Spider-Man did, and continue that. But that was COVID time. So it took a little while for us to get to where we needed to get to. But Phase 4 finally did start. But Phase 4 started with the Disney TV shows. WandaVision was not supposed to be the first show. Captain America, or rather not Captain America, Falcon Winter Soldier was supposed to be the first show. WandaVision was supposed to be second. But due to COVID and issues like that, WandaVision, which has more of a closed set, was able to get done first, because Falcon Winter Soldier had a country-spanning filming schedule, and it took a little while because of the COVID protocols and stuff like that. So WandaVision became the first. This was 2021. So 2020 was supposed to be the beginning of Phase 4, but it wasn't because of COVID. There were no Marvel movies that came out or TV shows that came out in 2020. Now 2021 starts with January, starts with WandaVision, and then it goes to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Then it goes to Loki. And then we get our first movie, which is Black Widow. And then after Black Widow, we got What If, the animated series. Then we got Shang-Chi, the movie. Then we got the Eternals. Then we got Hawkeye, the series. Then we got Spider-Man No Way Home. Then we got Moon Knight. Then we got, I feel like I missed something. After Moon Knight, it took us till Doctor Strange, I think, and then Miss Marvel. So I think that's where we are now. And then Thor: Love and Thunder just came out. So that's still part of Phase 4. Phase 4 is going to continue with She-Hulk coming out next month. Actually, about a month from, literally almost a month from now. It's like August 17th. So yeah, it's literally like a month from now. She-Hulk will be out. So we got that, and then we've got Black Panther 2. And then I'm not exactly sure if there's going to be a show in the second half of the year, in the fall. I'm sure there's going to be one somewhere, but if it's going to be Secret Invasion, is it going to be what else? So I don't know what it's going to be yet. So we're going to have the Guardians Christmas special. We'll have I Am Groot, I think, is coming out also in August as well. I think What If 2, we're going to find out a little bit more about that in Marvel Zombies. The animated stuff might be filling the gaps here and there. So that's a lot of stuff in Phase 4. And I see people complaining that Phase 4 is all over the place. They do not have, the tightness of things, and that's ruining the MCU. Needs a big bad is what they're saying, like a Thanos. We don't know where this next phase is going. Here's why it's a bad take. It took 10 years, 10 years to get to Infinity War, which was the culmination of the first 3 phases of the first half of the Marvel, whatever you want to call it. Phase 1, as I just pointed out, was to set up the characters and lead them to the Avengers. That was what Phase 1 was all about. So there really was no big bad there, because you were introducing characters. You were leading to the Avengers. You knew you were going to get to the Avengers. You introduced Black Widow and Iron Man 2. You introduced Hawkeye and Thor. So you got all the pieces in there. And then in the post-credit sequence, that's where Thanos made his first appearance. Oh, he's going to be the big bad. Phase 2, really nothing with Thanos. We start getting some stuff about the stones. Thor Dark World, I think, is the first one to mention the stones because we knew they were with Loki and Avengers, but I don't think they were mentioned as Infinity Stones. And then they started, that's when the whole thing started opening. But again, they were introducing characters, they were setting up the thing, and they were revealing certain things. Here's the Infinity Stones, here's where we're leading to, blah, blah, blah. Guardians of the Galaxy had one as well. And then we find out there's another one in the Guardians of the Galaxy. So we're starting to get more and more into phase 2. That's phase 2. And phase 3 was we're going full board to the finale. We know who the big bad is, and we're going to lead to that. Boom, we get to that. Boom, and it's over and done with. So even though there's a lot more stuff now with the TV shows, think of phase 4 as phase 1 of the second half of the MCU. It's introducing characters. It is introducing us to post-traumatic stress disorder because of what happened. You can't just go move on after half the universe has been disappeared, snapped out of existence for 5 years. And you lived in a world the survivors lived in a world for 5 years without half the people on the planet, in the galaxy, in the universe, including loved ones, stuff like that. And then you have the people who had to survive the stuff. Wanda lost Vision. So she, and in a very brutal way, and so she wanted him back, and so she used her budding powers to create the town that was in WandaVision. Falcon Winter Soldier was about ascension. Captain America comes back at the end of Endgame, says, "All right, Sam, you're Captain America now." But Sam does not feel that he has lived up to it yet, and that he can never take the place of Captain America. So he hands the shield over to be put in a museum. But of course, because the government is racist and piece of shit, they didn't want a black Captain America. So they hire a psychopath to be Captain America and U.S. agent. And so Falcon has to get it back and prove that he's worthy of it. And that's what he does at the end. And he's now Captain America. So you have to deal with that. Loki, even though we're looking at a Loki who was at the end of Avengers, an alternate reality one at the end of the Avengers, who did not go through the stuff that later Loki did. He did find out how his life was supposed to go, seeing the death of his mother and his father and his arrival of his sister and his own death and the death and the destruction of Asgard and what his brother's going through and what happened with Thanos and all that stuff. And he's starting to feel a little guilty about stuff, even though he had nothing to do with it. He's an alternate reality Loki. But in the end, he helps Sylvie to bring about a whole new order with Kang, which you could, if you wanted to, conceivably point out as one of the possible big bads that was introduced. And they're like, oh, there's no big bads. Well, if you watch Loki, there's kind of one with Kang. And also introduced the version of the multiverse. And then you have Black Widow, which doesn't quite fit into it a little bit because it was something that took place after Civil War and before all the Infinity stuff. But it does have the ending bit where we find out about her sister and her wanting to get revenge for the death of her sister against Hawkeye. And we also, we get a little bit more about the Contessa who appeared in Falcon Winter Soldier. So you have that. So that's kind of an important thing as well. And yeah, I know Taskmaster wasn't quite to how you liked it, but F off, it still was a good role. And I think it can be, built up and might very well be with Thunderbolts. So we'll see what happens. What If expanded on the multiverse aspect of it and was one of those that was my least favorite of all the Marvel stuff that's come out. And just something about it just wasn't great, but it introduced the multiverse stuff and helped introduce characters that were going to show up later on in the movies and stuff like that, and potentially could show up later on. They have Shang-Chi, which was basically another introduction character, which was an absolutely fun film. And then you get a little bit more into the mystical side of the Marvel Universe because you're looking at that aspect of it. And you also set up for a big bad that's appearing in that one also, the end credit sequence where Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner show up and they're saying something's calling to the rings. Something's going to be coming our way, so we have to investigate that. So there's a big bad there. So look, there's 2 possible big bads coming. Yes, we don't know which one is which or how it's going to play out yet because it's only the phase 1 of this section. It's just to introduce this stuff. We didn't hear about Thanos until the last movie in phase 1. Here, we've started to get bits and pieces through the stuff, but we're also using the medium of television and the movies to give the characters a bit more of a human side, because after all the things you went through, you're gonna suffer. You can't just jump right back on the horse and go out there and fight again. So then after that, we have the Eternals, which again introduced a outer space godlike race. Again, don't quite understand the hate for that movie. I really enjoyed that one as well. Introduced again with the Celestials, beings that could be potentially problematic and could also maybe have a connection to Shang-Chi as well. So we got that to play with. And then, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home. Everybody knows about that. The multiverse comes full force. We get Andrew and Toby. We get the death of May. We get the villains from the other Spider-Man movies coming into this universe. We see other multiverses popping up before Doctor Strange is able to end it. And we get to see, Spider-Man grow up in front of us and grow out of the Iron Spider shadow and become his own man. And hopefully they'll play more with that once the new Spider-Man movie comes out, whenever that is. Then we have Hawkeye, which was an absolutely amazing show. I absolutely loved it. Actually, Hawkeye came before Spider-Man, but no way. But it was a fun show. Introduced another new character. So we're getting new characters introduced all the time. WandaVision had the twins, U.S. Agent and Winter Soldier and the Falcon, Sylvie and the other people in Loki. What If had a whole bunch of characters get introduced. Shang-Chi, Say No More. Eternals, all the Eternals, new characters created there. And then Hawkeye, we have Kate Bishop making her first appearance in a great, wonderful thing where Hawkeye is dealing with his post-traumatic stress from not only being a murderer, killing bad guys as Ronin, but also the fact that he was not strong enough to sacrifice himself, and that Natasha had to for her sake like that. Again, a very deep story that takes a look at what what was going through Hawkeye's head. I mean, the best sequence was in the very first movie where for the first episode where he's watching Rogers the Musical, and he's just remembering, he's seeing all his friends who are no longer with him, and it's messing with his head, and it's post-traumatic stress. So that was aspect of that. Moon Knight introduced another new character and more gods and stuff like that to the series. The gods can come into play a little bit later, and a good villain in Ethan Hawke's character, and just a new aspect to the Marvel Universe as well. Doesn't need to have something to do with overarching anything, and really doesn't connect with the rest of the Marvel Universe, but he's out there now, and that, and you can use him for whatever. And then you have Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. Again, Wanda still suffering from her PTSD after what happened in Vision and WandaVision, and now she's learning about America, who's a brand new character again. We learn more about multiverse and stuff like that. So we have that aspect of it coming back in. And then we get the introduction of Clea, who's talking about that there's all these conversions, which is what is set up for Secret War. So if you got your head out of your ass, you see they're setting up stuff, but they're not going to come out and say, this is the big bad. All this stuff is going to be connected in some form eventually. You just watch it, but it's going to could take another additional 10 years. I remember when, they were interviewing Kevin Feige during the Endgame sort of stuff. And he's like, yeah, we got Marvel stuff through like 2031 planned out. So obviously they know what they're doing. They're leaving stuff open for certain things like Thunderbolts and stuff like that, but and what they think is going to do good. So you have that aspect. And then you've got Miss Marvel, who introduces another character again, and then a connection to with the mutants and with Captain Marvel. And then you have Thor: Love and Thunder, which introduces more gods, and is pretty much like a self-contained story that really doesn't expand upon stuff that much. You get a new character introduced in Hercules, and you see Thor lose another person, but gain a new one. So it's all kinds of stuff. So phase 4 is about recovery, about fighting your post-traumatic stuff, suffering, the suffering you're going through, but still being able to put up the good fight, introducing new blood to come in to replace the old blood that all left and eventually could potentially leave eventually, because let's face facts here, Mark Ruffalo is not looking too young there anymore. He's getting a little old around the cheeks there. And believe it or not, Paul Rudd is in his 50s, so he's not going to want to be doing Ant-Man forever, so we got to get the introduction of some new characters and some fresh blood in here. And it's coming. So for those people who are saying that phase 4 is scattershot all over the place, you can just fuck right off. I don't care what you think. I just laid out everything that's happened. You just want everything to be like, phase 3, where we know where we're going and we have a big bad battle and all this stuff comes together and then we move on to the next thing. No, this is the foundation of what's coming over the next 10 years. So this is the second batch of 10 year stuff. So you just got to buckle up, man, and just deal with this shit, because it ain't going anywhere. We got new stuff coming up all the time, new characters, new connections to the Marvel Universe in general. We'll get the big bads there. We're going to find out more about Kang and Ant-Man 3 when that comes out. We'll find out what's going on with Black Panther. Rumors are Dr. Doom's going to make an appearance in there, so we got that. We've got Namor making an appearance there, so we've got that. She-Hulk is supposedly going to introduce some other characters as well. So, we've got stuff. Echo's going to have Kingpin and Daredevil in it. I talked about that last week. Ironheart's going to show up in Black Panther 2 before she gets her own show. So we got that as well. So everything's going to be connected and everything is there. And it all culminated with that Miss Marvel scene where she gets sucked off somewhere. Sucked away, I should say. Sucked off is a horrible way to phrase it. Sucked away somewhere, and Brie Larson's Captain Marvel pops up in her place. And that's leading to, okay, that makes me want to say, okay, I want to see what's going to happen, but we're not going to be able to find out for a year now. But we know something is coming, and then it's connected. The other really bad take, and the rest are just going to be my own personal opinions of stuff. Lamar Jackson, who is the Ravens quarterback, the numbers... he got injured halfway through last season. So the numbers from when he started as rookie to this half season that he did, he is third in like QB rating and all kinds of stuff behind Patrick Mahomes and Drew Brees, who's no longer a quarterback. And an ESPN guy who hasn't liked Lamar anyway for the longest time said he is not a top 10 quarterback, placed him like number 12. He was an MVP 2 years ago. He might not have been did not have his best year last year, but before he got injured, even though he might not have had his best year, the Ravens were still the number 1 seed before he went down halfway through the season. And then everyone's treating like the Ravens are just like became like a complete shit show. Yes, they lost like their last 5 games and ended up with an 8-9 record. But every single one of those games they were in, they were never blown out in any game except for the 2 games against the Bengals were the only ones they were blown out in. Everybody thought, you should have handled the Dolphins a lot better than you did because they were a sucky team. But hey, guess what happened? After the Dolphins beat us, they went on a string of winning about 5 or 6 straight games. So don't give me that shit. They were just a good team that needed a spark, and they got the spark, and they got the Ravens at the right time because of all the injuries and stuff like that. Now, we were in every single game, even with a backup quarterback, even with backup players everywhere. And we even had to do our third-string quarterback at one time, and he played really well. And we were close to winning a bunch of games, except for some questionable calls with second two-point conversions and stuff like that. They should have gone for overtime and gotten the ball and made their way down the field because they just did. And kicked a field goal, win that game, or score a touchdown, whatever. I don't care. But if they win a few of those games, they are in the playoffs with a ragtag team without their star quarterback, without most of their star players. And everyone's treating them like the Ravens are like the Jaguars or the Detroit Lions or something like that. They almost beat the Super Bowl champions. They almost beat the Green Bay Packers, which everybody was screaming was going to be a Super Bowl team, even though they didn't make it. We almost beat both of those teams. We were close on both of them. Yes, we had our issues, and we've gone out and we've solved some of those issues. So you can just go to hell with your thing. And this is good though, because I think this is going to really motivate Lamar. Lamar came to camp looking stacked, and I think it's going to motivate a lot of people. And I think people are underestimating our wide receiver room. They're saying, you have no wide receivers, no one to throw to. His biggest target was always the tight end, Mark Andrews. We have 3 more tight ends that he can throw to, big guys who can make catches and make plays. The 2 guys we drafted have been having incredible camps. We'll find out more at the end of the month when training camp actually starts for reals. But the stuff we've seen so far has been outstanding for these guys. So don't sleep on Lamar. Don't sleep on the Ravens. And it drives me absolutely bonkers that even our own radio people are screaming that they're terrible, and they can just go to hell also and die. The rest of stuff is pretty much just, those are the bad takes that I really want to discuss, but the rest are just sort of things that I figured, my personal opinions. Man yells at crowds. I did an episode about that about a month or so ago where I complained about a bunch of stuff. Here's some more stuff to complain about. It's July 17th, right? Yes, it's Sunday, July 17th. School here in Baltimore does not start until August 29th. That's a month and a half away. After 4th of July, Target started putting school supplies into Target. I've heard school supply commercials on the radio. Go get your fall new school clothes now at Kohl's and get your supplies, here and there, and buy the stuff now. Now, I can understand if we were a state where school starts August 1st, because there are some out there. Maryland doesn't start till August 29th. We're about the halfway point of summer right now. They have as many days still left off than they've already had in their summer vacation. There's still many. Let's see, the 17th, 27th, that's 10 days. And there's 31 days. So there's 14 days left in the year, in this month. So 14 days left in here. And they have the 29th. So let's see, that makes 29, 39, 43 days until school starts. 43. Almost a month and a half, not quite, but close enough. 43 days of vacation left. You don't need to put school supplies out in early July, which is even longer. We're 17 days into July now. These supplies came out July 5th. So let's add that to the total. 12 extra days, 55 days before school starts up again. They were doing school supply bullshit. This drives me crazy about a lot of places also, that they put the holiday stuff in so early that by the time the week of the holiday, the 2 weeks before the holiday, whatever, they have nothing. And they're not ordering stuff to be replaced the stuff that's gone. I can understand getting it out there so people can buy stuff early. But you really need to sort of have stuff available for the people who wait till the last minute to pick stuff up. You'll make just as much money that way as well. And in fact, you might get more people in the store if you cut down the days. Like school supplies we should start hearing school supply here in Baltimore and Maryland. Again, there are places that this is acceptable. They've got a few weeks before school is back in session for them, but they've also been out since May. Here in Maryland, where school starts August 29th, in Baltimore County anyway, August 29th. School supply commercials should have been in stores August 1st. That might be a little early also. 21 days before school starts. That's 3 weeks. That makes it the 8th of August. If you want to make it, a little bit better, maybe the 8th of August. You start doing these supplies. Put the supplies out, stuff like that. Yes, there are people who probably want to get there. There probably are people who've gone there and already bought all their school supplies for the year. But they're just sitting now, taking up space. If they didn't release them until August, you'd still probably be able to get the stuff. And you're not reordering the stuff anyway. So what you do is just you order a lot. You order the amount that you ordered and just put it sooner. You'll still have the stuff. If you're afraid that you're going to run out of stuff or that you're not going to get rid of stuff. I don't know. That makes sense to me. What the hell did I write next to that? No idea. Oh, motorcycles. Yes. I've talked about this before on my show, but it's just become clear to me again recently. We see signs all the time or bumper stickers that say, share the road with motorcycles. And I'm fine with doing that as long as the motorcycle people follow the rules as well. And there are the ones that drive the Harleys, the old school motorcycles, stuff like that. The ones that are in the motorcycle gangs or groups. It should be more like groups because there's no real gangs anymore because there's not like a lot of vicious fights between biker gangs anymore. They follow the rules. Sometimes a little off where I have the two of them together are in the same lane, right near each other. But you could conceivably make that as one big car. It's about the size of one car. Two of them together might be a little skewed, but still, I'm okay with that. Why? Because they're staying within the lines. They're not breaking any laws. They're driving the speed limit or the 10 miles over, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it. They're not driving recklessly. Let me tell you who is. The younger people, men and women, who drive what people like to call the crotch rockets, the Kawasaki little mini motorcycle things, you know, the Harleys, stuff like that are big chunky guys, and those are real motorcycles. These are little shitty motorcycles that can go 0 to 100 in like 5 seconds. And these assholes, they drive illegally. They drive way over the speed limit. Speed limit 60. They probably blow by you at 90 or 100 sometimes. And you hear them. I can hear them from my house because 795 is right out there. You can hear them. They're loud. It's so freaking loud. Again, I'm used to it, so it isn't bothersome, but you can hear it, and it draws your attention. Also, they drive on the lines. There's traffic. Fuck your traffic. I can drive in between you two on this line. They drive in between the lines, or on the lines, rather. That's illegal. When they're speeding down the road, they're going, they're barely cutting in front of cars. There's so many times where motorcycles have come that close to clipping my car, going about 100 miles an hour. Share the road with motorcycles? I will, with the people who drive them legally, the Harleys and the big guys, and know who the guys who follow, the guys and gals who follow the laws of the road. These crotch rocket guys and gals, they do not. And those are people that I do not want to share the road with. So don't tell me to share a road with them until they learn to share the road with us and drive properly. Fuckers. There's this commercial that comes up on the radio that I listen to at work that always annoys me so much. It's the Bounty commercials. Now, their newest, the Bounty's paper towels, and their newest commercial series had been mostly women listening to songs about alcohol, red, red wine, there's some others. They've done a bunch of them that are songs that are about alcohol, red, red wine, stuff like that. And then they spill their red, red wine, and then they pull the paper towels out, and Bounty picks it up real quickly, so doesn't cause a problem. So there's been a number of those, and in this case, a lot of them are just kind of annoying. And I don't pay much attention to them, but the one that they've been playing recently has that song "Milkshake," where all the boys in the yard come to see my milkshake, whatever like that. And the song starts off in the commercial my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. That's the line, I think. And then you hear a spill, and a woman go, huh! And then you hear a narrator go, did you spill your milkshake? Use Bounty to pick it up. Blah, 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 blah. And now you get back to your milkshake, and then the rest of the song plays again. The song is literally not about a milkshake. It's about your tits jiggling, women's tits jiggling, milkshake, back and forth, drawing the attention of men who like boobies, like me. Milkshake is shaking your titties like that. That's what it's about. Not literally about a milkshake. Now, red wine is about red wine. So I understand that. You're listening to that and you're drinking red wine. Oh, it's a coincidence. Yes. Milkshake is not about a real milkshake. It's about shaking your titties. And that commercial needs to go. I hate the song anyway, but I like the milkshakes, but I don't like the song. Fortnite. I've been playing Fortnite since I was removed from my work for COVID reasons, laid off for about 6 months. My son had just gotten into it right before COVID hit also. So he played, we let him download it on his Switch. So he played a lot of that with his buddy Hunter. And I watched a lot of him playing it. And it got me interested in it. So I started playing on my cell phone so I could play with him because I liked what I was seeing. And then they got me a Switch for my birthday in 2020, and I downloaded the Switch. And eventually I got to the Switch when Apple and Epic got into their hissy fit, and Apple refused to put the game on there and shut it down. So I had to play it somewhere. So I was able to play it on the Switch, and now I'm only going to play it on the Switch. Even on the phone, you can play it back on the phone if you want, but I'm not going to because I like it on my Switch now. It's so much easier. So I started in Chapter 2, Season 2, which was by far, if you talk to anybody, really, I think even the OG Season 1 or Chapter 1, which I'll talk about here in a second, I think they really enjoyed Chapter 2, Season 2. And now we're in Chapter 3, Season 3. So I played it that long. So Chapter 2, Season 2 through Chapter 2, Season 8. And then Chapter 3, Season 1 through Chapter 3, Season 3. So I played it now for, let's see, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 1, 8 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. I played it for 9 seasons. And I'm a member of a couple of Fortnite fan sites on Facebook. And one of them is about, Fortnite for adults. And all I hear about is people wanting the Season 1 map back and all the stuff, the nostalgia, the people who played it since the beginning, they want to just go back to the way the game was. It's become so different that they are not having fun anymore, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, you're still playing. Don't give me that shit. And that's not the point. The point is you do a full chapter with this map, and you change the map every chapter. Hell, you should change it every season is what you should do. And that's what they do. They change POIs and they change things up a little bit, but the general way the map is still there. But that's the whole point is you don't want to keep going backwards. You want to move forward. You want to have new places of interest. You want to have new adventures. You want to have new weapons. You want to have new things happen. It would be boring to keep playing the same old shit before that you've played for 10 seasons, which is how long Chapter 1 was. But these people bemoaning the fact that they want the old map back. And now Epic appears to be listening to them because they're bringing back all these old POIs from Season 1 or Chapter 1, and it's pissing me off a little bit. You need to move forward, Epic, not backwards. And what drew it out mostly was there was something in the shop that came out a couple days ago where they released 10 skins that correspond with each of the seasons of the first chapter. So they're acquiescing to all these assholes, and I can't stand it. I love Chapter 2, and I wish the map was still around. I hate this map. Chapter 3 map is awful. There's only a few places I like landing, and it's boring as hell. Chapter 2's was fairly interesting. I found it interesting. But these people keep screaming for Chapter 1 back, and they're getting all the stuff from Chapter 1 back. It's like, no, you need to move forward. Don't move backwards. And that's what pissing me off about that. Political thing real quick. It was discovered this week that the Secret Service was deleting text messages pertaining to the January 6th insurrection, which makes them culpable for the insurrection and for the murders of Capitol police officers and traitors trying to overthrow the government. So the Secret Service needs to be cleaned up as well. So that's another thing that the Department of Justice is ignoring, even though they should be doing more than they actually are. There should be indictments. There should be people in jail now, but I'm not going to go into that whole spiel right now. But the thing that got me this week is that when President Biden started into office, his dog, General Biden, I think is the general, Major Biden, his dog consistently was biting Secret Service agents till they said he had to go away. So they put him back at his home in Delaware. So that's where Major's been since then. And it was a big uproar with Republicans. Oh, he's attacking the Secret Service, supposed to protect you, blah, 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 like that. Well, y'all owe Major Biden the dog an apology because he was attacking the Secret Service because he sensed that they were not there for his owners, President Biden's well-being. They are Trumpers who are helping him take over the United States government. And Major Biden knew this, so he went after them. He hadn't been anybody else. He just built these ones who are now being looked into as being part of this insurgency. So y'all owe Major Biden an apology as well. So those are the takes and comments I want to go into today. I got a lot to do, and I wasted a lot of time on that. So I'll try to roll through 3.5 pages in 40 minutes. So we'll see if we can do that. Shouldn't be a problem. So it's about something fun. I love Halloween. For those who know me, Halloween is one of my favorite seasons. Christmas is slowly becoming my more favorite season, but Halloween is still there, though, and it's still going to be there for a long time. But Spirit Halloween, which is the Halloween costume shop that magically appears in like late August, early September, with costumes and Halloween decor and stuff like that ready for you to come pick up their stuff. And they're still open the week leading to Halloween. And they still have a good amount of stuff in there. Not as much as they usually have, but they still have some good stuff in there. Well, I told you months ago that they are making a movie, Christopher Lloyd and Rachel Lee Clark, I guess, from She's All That, called Spirit Halloween. And it's going to be out this year because they filmed it earlier this year and they're editing it, and it should be out this year, I think. Because Spirit Halloween is going to celebrate their grand openings whenever the time comes for that, which again, late August, early September. And they're going to release the trailer for the Spirit Halloween movie. It's going to be on all their, it's going to lead to this like whole grand opening. They've never really done a grand opening sort of thing for these things. They just appeared, but they're going to do this now. And they're going to have the trailer be a big part of that. So cool on that. Nintendo has bought a movie studio and an anime studio. So you're going to see a lot more Nintendo characters making appearances in movies and making their own movies and animes and stuff like that. So you can get a Legend of Zelda anime, and you can get a live action Pokemon movie again, that sort of thing. So it should be interesting to see how that's going. I was going to give you a full list of the Emmy awards that were announced, Emmy nominations that were announced this week. I'm not gonna because I went off a little bit on my bad takes and I spent a lot of time. This would be a lot of time to do that. All you need to know is that the Marvel shows totally got screwed. A lot of them got nominated. Loki, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, and What If, like all got nominated for various things, but not anything to do with Best TV Show, or in the case of Moon Knight, no Best Actor nominees for Oscar, and no Best Emmy nominations for Oscar Isaac, or Best Supporting Actor in Ethan Hawke, which I think both of them should have deserved that. Particularly Oscar Isaac should have gotten at least a nomination for his portrayal of not one, not two, 3 different personalities, all who were different, all who looked different, and the way he did things, all were different. And he should have absolutely gotten a Emmy nomination for his role in Moon Knight. He did get an Emmy nomination, but for another show he did, I forget what it's called, for Best Actor, but it should have been for Moon Knight. And the other stuff is just more like technical stuff. I think F. Murray Abraham got a Emmy nomination for Best Voiceover for his Honshu character. So he had that as well. So they got shut out on most of the things. As I said, they did get some nominations, as I said, but it's mostly for like direction and special effects and stunts and stuff like that. But none of the big awards looked at any of the Marvel shows. And Stranger Things got a lot of nominations also, but again, no Emmy nominations for acting. Everybody thought Sadie Sink's role as Max was going to be a shoo-in to get like a Best Actress nomination at least. Nothing. Nope. Not a damn one. All the ones that got the big awards are like the Joe Lassos and the Severance and all these other shows that are so dramatic. And just like the Oscars, you go for the more dramatic ones and don't go after the more entertaining ones. So, or Ted Lasso, excuse me, not Joe Lasso, excuse me. The MCU is officially 100 hours long after the release of Thor: Love and Thunder and the final episode of Ms. Marvel. It has now pushed it over the 100-hour mark. So if you want to watch every MCU project from movies to TV shows, it's got to be over 100 hours. So you think about that, 100 hours, we're looking at 24 hours in a day. 3 days is what? 24, 48, 58, 60, 72 hours, 96 hours is 4 days. So you're looking at 4 days and change, about four to 5 days to watch. But that's 24 hours. That just gives you the idea of it. So for 24 hours, for about 5 days, if you start watching the first Iron Man movie and end with Ms. Marvel episode 6, you'll have watched everything in the MCU. It takes 5 days, 24 hours a day. Beavis and Butthead, after their successful movie that showed up on Paramount, had a trailer release this week for their new TV show that will also be on Paramount. It's bringing back the old school sort of Beavis and Butthead sort of way of doing things, where they'll have a story, but then they're also going to make fun of videos again, even though there technically aren't a lot of videos out there because MTV is a completely shell of itself from now on, but that's besides the point. Again, on that as well. FX and Hulu has renewed the hit summer show The Bear for a second season, which is about chefs and cooking and stuff like that, I think. Jamie Lee Curtis announced on her Twitter feed that cryptically wrote 7/20, which everyone believes will be the premiere of the Halloween Ends trailer. There have been some preview screenings of it. Not really previews, but I guess just to gauge how people like it. I guess you could call it preview screening, sure. And, you know, the creators are going to take into account what people are said, what they liked and didn't like about it, and they'll make adjustments as it is. But we should get our first Halloween Ends trailer showing up on July 20th. Now, we should be getting a lot of interesting things. Next week's show should be interesting because the San Diego Comic-Con starts Wednesday night with preview night and goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we'll get some information. It'll still be going on when I'm doing this show next week. But we should have some new information, some new stuff about that. So keep an eye out that for next week's show. We'll be looking at the San Diego stuff as well. But until then, we've got this other stuff going on here. Dean Fleischer Camp, who has been tapped to direct the live action version of Lilo and Stitch, which, again, I'm not surprised that they're doing a live action thing of, because they're doing a live action thing of all their Disney films. So why not this one as well, right? Netflix's hit show Sex Education is getting its own manga, which it kind of makes sense. It's a popular show and it's a love show sort of thing, but there's also a little bit of sexual stuff to it, so why not? Spy X Family, which is the hottest manga and anime in Japan right now, has dominated every demographic in Japan. So every demographic in Japan, kids, teens, 20-somethings, grown-ups, older people, seniors, stuff like that. They all love Spy X Family. Lord of the Rings of Power trailer. The newest one came out for the Prime show, which is due out on September 2nd. Looks like a Lord of the Rings thing. So if you like Lord of the Rings, it should be pretty good. Did not know they were doing an American Gigolo. I believe it's a movie, not a TV show, for, I guess, Hulu or FX. It's going to star John Barenthal. I did not know they were doing that, but the first trailer for that popped out this week. Chucky released their Chucky season 2 released their teaser trailer for the TV series on Sci-Fi. Its second season. The first season did very well, so obviously we're going to do a second season. It's due out October 5th, just in time for Halloween, so that's good as well. Samara Weaving, Antonio Rivolieri from Spider-Man movies. He played Flash Thompson, have been cast in Scream 6. Samara Weaving, who is the daughter of Hugo Weaving, had starred in the director's previous horror films before they worked on the Scream stuff. So they wanted to get her into one of the films, and they finally have been able to do it. Secret Headquarters trailer, which is another Paramount Plus show, is due out August 12th. Stars Owen Wilson as a superhero who is a superhero, but the rest of his family is normal. It also stars the actor who has been cast as Percy Jackson in his next role before, I think, the Percy Jackson show. This is the last thing he might have did before Percy Jackson. So good to see him one last time before Percy Jackson. Channing Tatum has replaced Chris Evans in Project Artemis, which was for Apple TV, which is going to co-star Scarlett Johansson. It would have brought Scarlett and Chris Evans back together again, and they're very great together, but they had to shift the shooting date to a point where Chris Evans could no longer do it, so he had to back out of it because he was contracted to do something else. He thought he would be able to fit this one in and then do the thing he was contracted to do. Excuse me. But when they moved it to a time where there's going to be an issue, he had to back out, which he did. But they got Channing Tatum to come in to do it. So we'll see if he can have the same sort of chemistry that Chris Evans does with Scarlett Johansson. Scientists have picked up a radio signal with a repetitive sound, which they call it a heartbeat, billions of light years away. So they've gotten a new sort of radio signal that is consistently repeating itself. So that's kind of good. Oh, I already did that one, so I can check that off. Tangy tamarind Doritos have made their way out into the world. I don't know what a tangy tamarind is going to taste like, nor do I really want to find out. But if you know what it is and are interested in it, go for it, man. Is Steven Spielberg going to direct the Fantastic Four? Is the rumor. That's the new Fantastic Four rumor that came out this week. It would make sense, but would someone of Spielberg's caliber be willing to do a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie? I don't think so. I don't see it happening. But yeah, so that's rumored to be out there. Also, John Krasinski, who everybody loved to see in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness as Reed Richards, had been clamoring for him to take on the role personally, may not actually be in the running for the role now for the Fantastic Four in the MCU. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, another big rumor right now, and I got to get the name of this actor. Let's just get it down here appropriately. Hey, what? Sorry. All right. Where's cast? All right. There is. Jason Segel has been rumored to be the Thing in the MCU and make his first appearance in the She-Hulk TV show. That's a rumor right now, but that could kind of work, I guess, if they decide to go with that. So that's possible. They might be able to do that. I think it's everything on this page. Yep. All right, moving right along. We're 134. Yeah, this one's going to be a little long, so I got a full page here and then a half a page over here. So let's get moving. The Transformers TV show. There's a brand new one coming out. It is animated. It's not live action, so there's a new animated TV show. Don't know where it's going to appear or whatever, but there is a new one rolling out there, and they had cast some of the voices no one I've ever heard of, but that's the story this week. Netflix's vampire film coming out in October called Day Shift with Jamie Foxx. Snoop Dogg gets his first trailer. When I watched it, it reminded me a lot of the John Carpenter movie Vampires, about a group of vampire hunters who are misogynistic assholes who are contracted by the Vatican to hunt down vampires, and they do it during the day, and then at night they debauch, they get drunk, and they fuck prostitutes and beat women and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's not good stuff. It's an entertaining movie, but I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. There's just a lot of just too much in it. But Day Shift looks like it's going to be something similar, maybe not quite as misogynistic, obviously, but basically it looks like it's a crew that works the day shift where they hunt down vampires during the day because they can't come out in the day, so that's when they're their weakest. And Jamie Foxx plays a guy who used to work for them but got fired for being too aggressive or whatever, and they need him back, and he's got to come back and train like a new guy and stuff like that. So that's what's interesting about that. Condoleezza Rice has joined the ownership group of the Denver Broncos, which, as you recall, they were sold to the Walmart family. So Condoleezza Rice is now a part owner of the Denver Broncos. Fans who want to go, or not fans, but if you want to go to the beach and try something different, get your bag of Beach Bones sand toys. Basically, they are sand toys shaped like a human skeleton. So you have the head, you have the rib cage, you have the arm bones, you got the leg bones, feet bones, finger bones, like that. And you fill them with sands, they're molds, and you put them in the sand. It looks like a skeleton's in the sand. So I guess that's fun stuff. A woman hears voices in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky and trying to figure out what the reasoning for it is. But before you think it's aliens or something supernatural, whatever, it is not. Rural Kentucky, which is very rural and is also a piece of shit state, but that's besides the point, because it's run by fucking Republican a-holes. I'm not going to say it. Mitch McConnell, not going to say anything else about that. Is actually the voices she heard was actually the test for a new early warning system that has been developed by the state of Kentucky to warn people in these rural areas who might not otherwise be able to hear it in any other form because of their being in the rural, in the sticks or whatever. So they built these things all over the place so they can announce national emergencies or whatever over these things, so people who are out in this, middle of nowhere stuff can hear the voices. A pristine 16th century warship has been found, so they'll be able to do some more research about that. Recently discovered Viking boat graves, which has multiple boats buried in the ground. When they get dug up, they may actually have the skeletons of some of the Norwegian royalty and Viking royalty that was on those ships when they died. They could be the funeral ship, stuff like that. So they'll be able to get some studying of that. Trix, Cocoa Puffs, and Honey Nut Cheerios have their own candles now. So if you want to smell like your favorite breakfast cereal, or have your house smell like your favorite breakfast cereal, you can now do it with these candles. In 1882, a man drew a map wrong, and his mistake saved 300-year-old trees. He was building a map saying this is where this needs to be built. It was like a flat area. They built it in the area because that's what it was. But then he's like, oh, wait, we probably should have done the other side. But by then, it was already built, and it saved all these 300-year-old trees. So that's awesome. Sea lions chase after tourists at La Jolla Beach in San Diego to get them off of the beach so they can reclaim it for themselves. Good on you, sea lions. Stick it to the man. 5 shark sightings have been reported in one day off of Cape Cod Beach, and they're not the same shark. They are different sharks. So there are multiple sharks now off the coast of Cape Cod right now, which is kind of interesting. China has created robot fish that eat microplastics, which could help get rid of pollution in the water. So, China can do some good stuff too, Gas prices are falling at a massive rate. Republicans have been screaming that they've been too high and blaming the president, even though he has nothing to do with gas prices, and thinking he needs to do something and saying that gas needs to be lowered. So gas has been going down for the last at least 30 days. And now they're saying that it's going down too fast. It's going to screw over mom and pop stores. So the Republicans just can't, say compliments to Democrats. They have to come up with some thing to make it look like it's bad. So where were you screaming when, what about the mom and pop stores when the gas prices were going up? You didn't say anything about them then. You were saying that the gas prices need to go down, so we put them down. And now you're saying, no, that's not good. We need to get them back up again for the mom and pop stores. No, it doesn't make sense. That's along the lines of people, these Republicans are so stupid. It's along the lines of them saying, this is the trouble at the border. All these drugs have been caught from entering our country. It just shows that the border is a lawless area. No, it's doing its job. These drugs were trying to be smuggled in the United States, and they've been stopped from entering the United States. They've been taken away, and those drugs are not in the United States. They are doing their fucking job. You're fucking morons. And I'm not going to go off on this anymore. The Isle of Dead, one of the Walking Dead spinoffs, has started filming this week. That one has an intriguing premise. We'll take a look at that, but I don't see it lasting too much longer, but we'll see, maybe. Ryan Gosling wants to play Ghost Rider in the MCU. Yeah, sure, why not? I don't really care much. Haley Steinfeld to return as Kate Bishop in multiple multiple Marvel projects. That was pretty much a given anyway. That means there's probably going to be a Hawkeye season 2, or there's going to be a Young Avengers thing coming up, or she's going to pop up in one of these other movies, maybe Thunderbolts, who knows? So she could be popping up really literally in anything in the near future. So keep your eyes out for that. Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut has got an impressive cast of old school actors. Christian Slater, Gina Davis, Kyle MacLachlan, Haley Joel Osment, and Alia Shawkat have been cast in the Zoe Kravitz's film. I don't know if Zoe's going to be in it, but I know she's directing it. Excuse me. Statues of Walter White and Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad are going to be erected in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is kind of funny. Yes, I know it was a TV show, but the characters are drug dealers who kill people with their drugs. And even though the show takes place in New Mexico and is filmed in and around there, do you really need to have statues to these characters who are drug dealers? If it's for Bryan Cranston, the actor who played Jesse, then sure, but make it for them and don't make it for the characters they played as drug abusers or drug pushers, I should say. Maya Hawke, who's having a moment with her Stranger Things stuff and has her pedigree with Uma Thurman as her mom and Ethan Hawke as her dad. Well, she is teaming up with her dad, Ethan Hawke, in a romantic comedy called Revolver. And no, they're not going to be romantic. He is probably going to play her father. And the movie setup is a Beatles-related thing. Basically, it's about a young Beatles fan played by Maya Hawke, who's obsessed with them and discovers George Harrison, I guess, on a plane or like that. And she's trying to get him to have sex with her so she loses her virginity. Obviously, he's going to play the dad. It would be really too weird if he was playing a love interest. But no, he's going to play her dad, or maybe not even her dad, maybe just another role, but they're going to work together in this movie. Local news, parking garage at Towson Town Center, where I used to work for a long time, caught on fire. A couple levels, the third and fourth level, I think, of it caught on fire this week. Was put out without any major issues or problems. There was some damage to cars, but it was put out in enough time. The Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles, went on quite a streak this week. They won 10 games in a row until Friday night, where they lost to the Tampa Bay Bucks 5-4. And then today's game, they won in 11 innings, 6-4. So the Orioles are starting another streak here. Now, they only have one more game left before the All-Star break. So they play tomorrow, or rather I should say today, Sunday, and then they're off until next Friday for the All-Star break. And only one All-Star from the Orioles, as closer Jorge Lopez, I think, was put into the All-Star game, which is a shame because they have some really good batters and players. Finally, local news. Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band, will be playing at the grand opening of the newly restored Baltimore Arena, which I didn't know was being restored, but I knew they were working on getting downtown Baltimore to be a bit more visitor friendly, and the arena is one of the top ones to get refurbished, to get concerts and wrestling and stuff like that in there. So, and you get a lot more stuff and more money for the town. So Bruce Springsteen will be christening the new Baltimore Arena. I think it's next year is when the tour is going to come through here. So that's pretty cool. The Salem's Lot remake, based on the Stephen King novel, which just come out in September, has now been pushed to April 2023 for, I guess, again, I think COVID reasons. But it will be pushed to April, so it's no longer going to come out this fall, which is a shame. Should have come out in the fall, but now it's going to come out in April. Whatever. The Munsters, Rob Zombie's update of the Munsters, released a trailer this week. I did not watch it, but everybody seems to hate it. So I don't know. We'll see about that. Maybe I'll check it out eventually. Harrison Ford turned 80 years old this week. 80. Harrison Ford. And Patrick Stewart turned 82 this week. So two of our big stars here are getting up there in age. A Florida activist asks if he can lead a satanic prayer after the Supreme Court of the United States sided with a football coach who was allowed to have his players do a Catholic prayer in the middle of a football game, and forced a lot of his players to do it, even though they didn't want to, because they did not believe in that religion, but they were forced to do it. And SCOTUS, and the parents said that's not right, separation of church and state. But SCOTUS said, no, that's cool because, we believe that this country is a theocracy, and it really isn't, so they can fuck right off. So this guy said, well, if you said it's okay for religious to do it, well, can Satanists do it? Can Muslims do prayer rags in the middle of games now because you said it's okay to do that stuff? Or is it just if they try to do it, you would put a stop to that and say it is against the Constitution, even though you said it was okay for Catholics? So, yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. So hopefully this guy will make a statement and make his point done, and SCOTUS can go fuck themselves. Hundreds of frogs died in mid-sex 45 million years ago. They've been discovered, skeletons and fossils have been discovered of the frogs in the middle of coitus 45 million years ago. So that's kind of sucks. But hey, if you have got to go with a smile. Baby zebra born with polka dots instead of stripes was born this week. So again, more and more weird animal stuff is going on. Let's see any other weird animal stuff before I move on. Toledo Zoo announces the birth of 2 Amari tiger cubs. Last week, there's a whole bunch of tiger cubs being born. Here's some more this week. Architects unearth a 9,000-year-old shaman sanctuary in Europe. So that's kind of interesting. A DoorDash glitch allowed users to to order all the food and drink they wanted, and it was for free. That's has been fixed finally, but that was something that was going on there for a while. California has granted $2.5 million in startup fees for an animation museum. I think that's a really good idea. So good on California to do that. Martin Freeman, who was in Black Panther and Winter Soldier, I believe, or no, in Civil War. I'm sorry, it was in Civil War. He was also in Black Panther. I think he's in Black Panther 2 also, from what I heard. His character will be returning in Secret Invasion as well, so we'll see more of Martin Freeman then too. A possible Sasquatch skull has been found in British Columbia, though right now there's a disagreement whether it's true or not. There's testing going on, but something was found, and they're trying to see if it's fake or not. So that'd be interesting to find out how that turns out. And finally, a stray dog was kicked by a driver. So the dog leaves and returns with a pack of his buddies who attacked the guy's car. I think that's outstanding and well-deserved to the asshole who abused an animal. So good on you guys. Congratulations. So next week, as I said, is San Diego Comic-Con. It's the first time they've done live action, or not live action, in-person San Diego Con in the last 2 years due to COVID. This is the first time in 2 years where they've had it. So we should be getting a lot of information out of San Diego this week. This week is also the anniversary of the moon landing, which really happened, by the way. It was not faked. If you believe it was faked, you can fuck right off. Also, it's also my brother-in-law's birthday, my mother-in-law's, not my stepmother's birthday, and the movie Nope comes out at the end of the week, and it's going to be another boring week at work. So, yeah, another hot week, too. Looks like we're going to be this summer hasn't been too bad. It's been summer. It's summer in Baltimore. The temperatures have not been outlandish. It looks like we might be getting a little outlandish stuff this week. Monday, 88, Tuesday, 91, Wednesday, 95, Thursday, 95, Friday, 91, Saturday, 95, Sunday, 93, Monday, 91, Tuesday, 90. Tomorrow's going to be 86. So we're going to have a little bit of cool weekend, but we're going to heat up in the middle of next week. So, which is, 95 is a little high, but it's about normal for this time of the year here in Baltimore. So, case Rossera. All right. That's it. I got underneath the 2-hour window, so that's good. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Oh, excuse me. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you when I see you. I'm going to end the stream now. Oh, no. Now, there we go.